Hey, what's up, Science Warriors? Guys, welcome back to another part of our flipped classroom. Today we're going to be adding on to our elements and compounds understanding with what is called formation of new substances. So let's go ahead and let's go put it up on the screen and let's do this thing. So as you guys see, there's our title right there. Our EQ for today is going to be what evidence can be used to identify the formation of a new substance from a possible chemical change. Alright, take a moment and copy that down at the top of your notes, and we will continue on. Alright guys, to start off, we need to understand the two types of change we can have. We can have physical change, or we can have chemical change. The first, okay, can be represented kind of with a math equation. So we get A plus B, so one thing plus a second thing is going to give us, A and B together in one place. Okay, they're still there. We can still find A, we can still find B. It's just a combination of those. That's a physical change. Where those things are next to each other, we can separate them out, all that good stuff. The second type of change is a chemical change. Chemical change does something totally different. When we take ingredient A and we add it to ingredient B, they come together and form a brand new one called C, just for this representation. So it's something totally new, different than the ingredients. So we now have what is called a chemical change because things have changed into a totally new substance. So there's a great way to remember the ways of telling a chemical change has occurred, and it's through this sentence. Okay, city girls love their phones. City stands for if there's a color change during the reaction, we know it's a chemical change. Girls stands for gas omitted. If we get gases, bubbles, something like that, then we know that something new has been made. Love stands for light given off. So if light is produced when these things come together, A and B come together, we get light. There's a sign that something new is being made. There stands for temperature change. Now, temperature change has to do with is the reaction absorbing heat or giving off heat. So does it feel cold or warm because of these two ingredients coming together? If I put something on a hot plate or on the stove and I turn it on and it warms up, that's a physical change. I am adding heat to it, okay, on purpose. A chemical change would be that these two things came together and they produced heat or they made it feel cold. And then the last one is phones, meaning a precipitate is formed. A precipitate is just when things come together like two liquids and a solid then forms between them, kind of like curdled milk. If you let milk stay too long, it gets chunky, and that is because a precipitate has formed in that milk. Okay, so here's some examples of all kinds of things. So chemical changes can be like rusting, burning, bubbling, precipitating, reacting, exploding, cooking, digesting, and then things that rot, so rotting food. Physical change, some examples of those would be breaking, folding, ripping, painting, boiling, freezing, melting, sanding, bending, chopping, and cutting. So all these things right here in the physical, if we do any of these things, we still have what we're working with. Okay, if I break a lead pipe, I still have a lead pipe, just now have two. If I fold a piece of paper, it's still paper. Okay, over here on the chemical though, if a nail rusts, that orange stuff is no longer the iron that makes up the nail. If I burn a piece of wood, okay, what I have left afterward is no longer wood. It is now ashes, and anything else has been left in gases through the smoke. Okay, exploding, when something explodes, okay, there is not much of the original stuff left. So chemical versus physical is really important to be able to understand, to know whether or not you actually have something volatile, which means it could be on fire or explode, or if you have something that is not volatile. Okay, so let's talk about the different ways you can change. So let's start with the production of gas. If two things combine and bubbles form, making a gas, this is telling us that we have a chemical change going on. So if I take a baking soda tablet and vinegar and put them together, I'm going to get bubbles. That's because CO2 gas is being created, and CO2 was not a part of any of the first two ingredients. The next would be a color change. So this usually happens when like the pH of a solution changes. We can make it show up a different color to see what the pH is. But we also have like when an iron nail rusts, it starts off looking like this, but over time the color will change to this. So we now indicate that a chemical change has occurred. You cannot turn this back into iron. Okay, temperature change. Okay, if two substances of the same temperature combine and then they either generate heat or give off the feeling of cold, then we have a temperature change going on. But in the contrary though, melting, freezing, and boiling, which we can do to water, that is a physical change. Okay, we're not changing water into something new when we freeze it into ice or when we boil it into water vapor. But like these right here, in the wintertime, a lot of people will use these. These are called hand warmers. There's a chemical reaction that occurs that generates heat. And once that chemical reaction is over and there's nothing left to react, it no longer generates heat. So you have to get another one. Okay, a lot of professional football players use these, especially the quarterbacks, to keep their hands warm for throwing the ball. Alright, the next one, these are a lot more fun. So anytime we get light, okay, whether if I strike a match or light a candle or break a glow stick, okay, both of these give off light once you have started. So when the reaction's happening, we get fire, okay, and that light and heat from the fire is indicating a chemical change. But also the glow sticks, if you break it, what you're doing is you're actually allowing two chemicals to mix together, and when they do that, they then create these nice colors and this bright light that you can then play with. Alright, and then our next one is probably a little bit difficult to remember, but a precipitate is when an insoluble compound is formed in a solution. So to break that down to its simplest form, if two liquids come together and a solid forms, like you get like this cloudy look like we see here in the picture, alright, then we have a precipitate. There is something new. That solid is a new compound that we didn't start with. Okay, silver chloride is something that can definitely create this precipitate. Also milk and any kind of acid can do a great job of demonstrating this as well. Alright, so the last piece of your notes, we've gone over the different types and ways to tell. What I need you to do is you picked up a blank sheet that had information sectioned off, but there was no information in there. I need you to fill in this page now. You picked it up on Monday as your warm-up off the cart. You'll need to fill in the 5 sections that are left, and I need you to then fold it hamburger style once, and you need to glue it on the next page after you have completed your notes. Alright, so what does that look like? It looks like this. This is the page right here that you need to fill in. The evidences of chemical change. And what I want you to fill in here is going to be on the next slide, so feel free to pause the video. Okay, so all of this information, make sure that you include everything you want as much in your notes as possible to help you through class, especially since this is going to be a quicker unit than the last. So take a moment, pause the video, and copy these things down. Alright, and then finally, the rest of your assignment for this. I need you, if you are in my classroom, to go back to Google Classroom, and you're going to complete a quiz that is also attached with this video. It is a Google Forms quiz. It is about 6 questions long, and you get to use your notes on this quiz. Okay, so use the notes that you took, answer the questions. If your notes help you, then you can tell that you made good notes. If they didn't, then you kind of have an idea that you've missed some things. But also, there's an extra thing. You can take this quiz as much as you like. Okay, you can keep taking it over and over and over again until you make a 100. So I highly recommend that you do that. And make sure that you understand these concepts before Friday when these notes are due. That way you can begin and don't have to waste any time and get behind in class. Well, alright, boys and girls, thank you so much. Hopefully you've had a great week. I will see you guys in class. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. And as always, Science Warriors, y'all be good, and I will see you in class. Peace.